everybody, and thank you so much for joining us again for another TTF Talks. And it's our very particular pleasure to have with us Matt Bekier from Star Entertainment Group, one of the most exciting and innovative organisations here in Australia and doing extraordinary work in terms of industry growth. And we're going to have a bit of a chat about how the current situation is playing out for Star and what insights Matt can give us. Hello, Matt. Thank you for joining us.
How are you, Margy?
Very well, thank you. So, look, you know, it's pretty obvious to say that this is a fairly impossible and difficult time for everyone. But, you know, what are you seeing as the main challenges from your point of view? And maybe could we talk a little bit about people issues too, because the management of people in this sort of situation is a very important, critical skill.
Look, it's, as you say, it is a very difficult period, which is probably not a surprise to anybody. I used to run a large company with a lot of growth prospects. Right now, I'm running a very small company with no revenue and a lot of debt. And so it's a very different situation than I'm finding myself into after 6 weeks. We had to stand down about 8,500 of our close to 9,000 staff. The only people that are still around are a few of the corporate staff that are dealing with investors, finances, and then some security and property maintenance people that are just keeping the properties in reasonable shape. Everybody else has been stood down. In order to soften the blow, we paid 2 weeks worth of pandemic leave to these employees. Now the JobKeeper payments are coming through, which we're processing as quickly as we can. But there's a lot of pain out there. So what we've done most recently, and we launched it on Monday, was that all the executives and the board have taken a substantial cut in salary, and we've taken that money and we're making that available now for financial hardship cases. And it is quite humbling to see what people are going through. And I don't think anybody really had anticipated how rough it is, particularly for those who are not eligible for any of those government payments. So that's clearly weighing on our mind. What's also weighing on our mind, Margy, is how do we communicate and stay in touch with these people? Because they're gone, right? So they're not here. We can't talk to them. We can't reach out to them. So we continue to use our app, our various communication channels as much as we can to communicate with them. We've set up a Facebook site, which is fantastic. We've had some 3,000 people, I think, sign up to that even more now, who just share stories of what they're doing in the pandemic, walking the dog and this and that. And it says something about the fabric of the organization that people like to chat to their colleagues and stay in touch. I think the mood is changing a little bit. It was pretty gloomy a little while ago, but now that there seems to be an easing of the restrictions and potentially an opening in the foreseeable future, there's a bit more hope that that we're all going to get through this. But it's been pretty tough.
Yeah, amazing story there. So thank you for that. How important do you think in the short term is the opening of state borders, for example, going to be for a business like yours? Or are we really going to need to see potentially that trans-Tasman bubble as a prospect opening sooner rather than later? What's going to make the most difference from your business's perspective?
For us, it's really the locals. And so 70% of our revenue comes from customers who are on loyalty. And they all live within a 40-kilometre radius around the property. So it's really, for us, it's all about being able to open up the local business. And that's for the business we have today. As you know, we've got currently 7 hotels under development. That is obviously geared towards the interstate and international visitor. Now, that will take some time, and we have a long runway on those things. So I hope that by then everything will have eased. In the short term, for us to get our people back, we'll need to be able to open the hotels, the restaurants, the bars, and the gaming floors for our local customers. That's the priority.
And from, say, the entertainment industry's point of view too, because many of your venues have wonderful entertainment venues. The cultural industries have taken a real knock out of this. So it's going to be a tremendous shot in the arm for them when you, for example, are able to open again.
Well, I'm still reeling from the fact that we had Dolly Parton lined up and open here, and we missed out.
and probably for quite some time now. We won't be seeing too many international acts.
Unlikely, yeah. I think
So,
big one
do you think that's an important component?
Say again?
Sorry, do you think that's an important component, that entertainment and those cultural offerings in a destination?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, just for us to put another slot machine out there is not going to bring domestic or international guests to the property, but we need to offer a lot more. And so, if you look at what we're building in Queen's Wharf, that is not only do we have critical mass of bars and restaurants, but we're also looking at a fish market. We're looking at all kinds of entertainment opportunities. We've got some 12 football fields of public space that we are activating. We're building a bridge over the South Bank. So that's all, you need to do a lot more than just offering one category. And that's why we call it the integrated resort, right? Because there's an integrated offering. Food and beverage continues to be a big part of our offering. And this crisis has forced us to sort of be a little bit more creative about how we go about it. And we've just launched for our premium restaurants a dine at home service. So I want you to think about it as takeaway as much as, if you want to go to Soki or Black, we can bring that meal to you at home. And, I think there's stuff there that will stay with us beyond this crisis.
That's fabulous. So just in that sort of design of restaurants and those kinds of food and beverage offerings, we're hearing a lot now that the buffet may be dead. There'll be no more of the endless seafood buffet or whatever else. So it's those kinds of changes are going to radically impact on how food and beverage is run, but also redesign, I would have thought, also in some of the physical spaces.
Well, I'm a bit less negative about these things because yesterday I had to listen to a self-declared expert who said the theaters are dead because of social distancing, and I'm sort of thinking, last time I looked, theaters have been around for 4,000 years. In Europe, we've had a couple of centuries of plague, polio, pox, everything washes through, and we still have theaters.
We do.
So we will have theaters, people will be sitting next to each other. I think that's going to return to normal, and the buffet is a great offer. It is an attractive way to display food and give people a very unique offering, and so I think it will come back. Now, will we have to have? It will take a little bit of time. There's no doubt about that, but I'm pretty optimistic that we will return to the good old days.
So am I. And I think that's the really important thing, isn't it? It's focusing on that light at the end of the tunnel. How do you think at this stage, with your global perspective and knowing what's happening in other parts of the world, how are we doing sort of in that comparison space? Do you think the government's doing a good job here? How do you feel about that whole interaction with government and that the direction they're taking us at the moment?
That's a hard one, Margy, because our industry took the brunt of this whole thing, of the shutdown. And I think, it's the uncertainty that's been created is probably the hardest one for us to manage. When the curtains first came down, there's talk of at least 6, possibly 9 months of shutdown. Now it looks like we might open up in 2. But reopening is not that straightforward. You want to reopen a bar, you need to wash out the lines, get new beer kegs, get everything else. Then you need to get the staff. A lot of our staff need to be retrained, relicensed. They are all, they've all had to look for other opportunities. We've encouraged them to look for other opportunities while they've been stood down. So it'd be quite helpful to have a little bit of clarity about how all of this is going to end and when.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that uncertainty factor that's making everybody crazy because it's impossible to plan around it.
Yeah.
From your point of view, we talked a little bit about state borders versus international, but how important is it from your perspective, even though you've got that vast bulk of your clientele and customers within that quite close proximity, how important is the aviation sector from your point of view in getting those planes back in the air? Is it important for your business specifically, or just the confidence piece?
So 70% of revenue is local. That says 30% isn't, and that's that's been a lot of growth. A lot of our growth has been that international business, particularly out of Asia. We've been very successful with leveraging our Queensland assets into the southern states, particularly in winter months when there's no better place to be than the Gold Coast. And so for that, we do need the aviation capacity to come back as quickly as possible.
So if there are positives out of this, because, there always has to be opportunities out of a disaster, what do you think are some of the big opportunities for the industry as a whole out of this, and potentially from your own business's perspective?
I think for us, it has really sharpened the focus on productivity and technology. Now that we've sort of thought about how we do our business, that dine at home service that I talked to you about, that's going to change the way we are going to do in-room service, in-room dining. Rather than having a dedicated kitchen in each one of the hotels, we'll actually use that model that looks a lot more like a Uber Eats for each integrated resort, where you can then, collate whatever food you want from each one of our 50 bars and restaurants and have it brought to your room, having a separate room.
That'd be fabulous. When do I get to do this?
As soon as we are allowed to open up. So there is the opportunity. I think that's the one thing for all of us, that we continue to look for opportunities out of all of this, and there are opportunities. Hopefully we can, put them back into play as quickly as possible.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. And I know that, all of us in the industry are, waiting with bated breath for those Queensland developments to open. They're going to be extraordinary destinations. And thank you again for taking some time with us this morning, and take care.
No, thank you. Thanks, Margie.